everybody, it's Anne. I decided that since I have the day off today, I would make a dress as a pay it forward project. So this is the one that I'll be giving away. I found this fabric that I bought actually 10 years ago, when I think about it, on a trip that we took to Europe, and I can't believe it's been 10 years that I've had it and I haven't used it yet, but that's what you get when you collect fabric, I guess. Anyway, it's a really cute retro style cat print, kind of a black cat that is really stylized, and you'll kind of recognize it when we get into a part where you can see it close up. But it's a nice heavier fabric, not too heavy, but like the heaviest that I would want to use probably for this type of pattern. And I'm just going to use some muslin to line the bodice. The cat print has a cream background, so the muslin is also sort of a cream color, and it's nice and light, so it'll be a good complement, I guess, to the heavier fabric of the cat print. It won't make it too hard to fold and unfold, turn inside out, and still have nice crisp seams. I need to replace the blade on my rotary cutter, getting a little spot where a thread is trying to hang on, so that means that some little part of it is not as sharp as it should be. Oh, there it's happening again. I have to remember to do that. When I'm hemming a Blythe skirt, I like to use pins to help keep the hem where I want it to be as I'm going. And this way I'm going to fold it up twice the height of what I want it to be, and then press it, and then I'll fold it under so that it has a nice finished edge. And that way I didn't have to fold it tiny twice. Folding it under once you've already done it is really a lot easier, in my opinion. And pinning it just helps it stay where you put it until you come through with the iron to press it into place. And then it will remember what you want. I like using this quilting square. It's like a padded board, I guess, covered in fabric, and it works really well as a tabletop ironing board, so that I don't have to have an actual ironing board set up, and but yet it still will protect the surface underneath from steam and that kind of thing, and heat. It also has this grid on it, as you can see, which does help. I think that it's not really true anymore after years of ironing on it with a bunch of steam, but it, I don't know, I can kind of tell which lines are straight and which ones aren't. For the sides, I'm going to do the same thing, where I fold it under after having done it at twice the fold up. As I'm watching this, you should definitely be careful when you're doing this sort of thing about steam and fingertips. I kind of have a technique down that works for me with my iron, but it would be pretty easy to burn your hand or your finger with either the tip of the iron or some steam, so take care. Here now we're switching cameras. This one's on my phone from this angle, so hopefully it's not too much lower quality than the regular camera that I was doing on the other table. Just sewing the bits of the bodice so that then I can turn it right side out. This inner, the shoulders or the back and around the neck, I do like to keep my needle down and then just go a few stitches at a time, lifting the presser foot and moving it so that I can get a nice accurate seam line. Have a standard seam allowance that's consistent throughout, and get a nice round neck hole that way. It's a little bit tedious, I guess, but it's such a tiny thing that it really is not that bad. Now I've clipped the corners where the overlap is so that it's just not quite so thick, and that way I can usually do this all in one, down one side, across the bottom, and then up the other side, all in one thing without having to change the thread. Trim those seam allowances on the top, on the bodice, so that it's not too bulky and so that it'll turn inside out more neatly. And then got a stitch with a long running stitch along the top of the skirt piece so that we can then gather it. I love to press everything at every step. It just makes things go so much more smoothly. Might not seem like it makes a big difference, but for some reason I feel like it does. Again, I'm using my handy standard jewelry pliers, to turn this right side out, as I usually do. Some other top patterns that are lined in this way you really need the jewelry pliers because the shoulder straps are much more narrow, and so it's really impossible to get it through otherwise, but it does make it easy no matter what pattern you're using. And like the last dress I made, this one is just sort of an adaptation of that Poochie Collective, I don't know, baby doll dress maybe? I can't remember what it was called. So it's kind of that pattern, but not exactly. I like to use that flat piece to make sure that I've got the seams fully open before I press them. They do tend to want to kind of be in a little bit, and I like to press, as you can see, the bodice little bit by little bit so that I make sure I get all the bits exactly how I want them. Get a nice gather on here. a little bit of steam without pressing. I often use clips for this part to attach the bodice to the skirt, but all my clips are currently holding together some quilts bindings that I have not yet finished, so I'm using pins. I do like to take quite a bit of care on this part of the process as well, making sure that I've got the sleeve edges lined up just together nicely, and leaving again a standard seam allowance or consistent seam allowance so that it's easy to pull out those running stitches and have it look like a neat finish. And then once I've trimmed that seam allowance, I'm going to go over it with a zigzag stitch on the machine. Just kind of keeps it from fraying and gives it a little bit more of a finished edge on the inside. I know a lot of people like to use fray check or another sort of glue thing to keep their edges neat, but I really just do not like using glue on sewing. Unless I was gluing on like some, I don't know, embellishments like a jewel or something like that. Alrighty, here we have it. I'm not putting you through watching me sew on a snap this time, so I'll just cut that part out, but it looks like we've got a nice fit on Dahlia here. And here it is, snap sewn on. So again, you can look on the Facebook Blythe Pay It Forward group. I'll put the link down in the doobly-doo, and you can have a chance to win it.